Welcome to Coach's Corner, everyone. Thanks for watching this show. I'm your host, Paul Tripoli, Coach Tripp. My players, I coached 20 years, and I'm back in it after a 5-year hiatus. Thanks for joining the show. We have a special guest, kind of a reunion show, maybe Syracuse Orangemen, football lineman reunion show. Along with me, to my left, Chuck Sweeney. We call him Sween Bomb from Texas, living in Texas now. Gosh, Chuck, thanks for joining the show, bud. You look like Theodore Roosevelt back there, man.
Appreciate you.
Hello, him, his teammate at Liverpool High School and at Syracuse University, Bill Pendock, good buddy of mine, one of my best friends. Hey, Billy, thanks for joining. And to Bill's right,
no problem, Paulie.
Blaise Winter right below me. Blaise Winter was a great player at Syracuse, along with that great defensive line of the early 80s, went on to play 10, 12 years in the NFL. Blaise, thanks for joining the show, buddy.
My pleasure, man. It's really nice to be with my brothers and with you, and I hope we're doing this more than one time.
Yeah, let's do it. Absolutely. Chuck's been on a couple of times. Billy's been on quite a few times on my radio show, but it's good to see all you guys, man, doing good. Let's start out with each one of you. We'll go right around the horn. We'll start with Chuck. Chuck, who's the early influence on you, man, whether it be high school or college, like a mentor, a hero, somebody who is your champion in your corner?
Well, certainly amongst the four of us here, we all have a very close bond with George O'Leary, okay? Here's a guy that when I was 15 years old, believed in me, made me a football player, told me that if I continue to work, I'd be good enough to, get a Division I scholarship. And he followed through. He beat the hell out of me, both physically and mentally. But he got me to where I am. And, certainly I didn't have the success beyond Syracuse that these guys had, but wow, has it really taken me places in life based on the lessons that, he set forth for me. So I'd say George O'Leary for sure.
Absolutely. Billy, who was an early influence on you? I know what you looked like when you were a sophomore, freshman in high school. And I know George transformed you into the powerhouse that you were at Division I. Talk a little bit about your early influences.
Yeah, George was a big part of it, and also was my track coach. That was Oscar Jensen. He had a lot to do with the strength program that we put together, and the two of them together, they didn't really get along, but they knew they needed one another, So a lot of it was both of them combined, and George definitely was the disciplinarian, and Oscar was the big weight room part of it,
George didn't get along with anybody.
Blaise, you're from Orangeburg? New York. Where'd you grow up? Where'd you go to high school, Blaise?
I'm a Tappan Zee High School grad alumni, and they just finally brought me back to the school, believe it or not, for the first time this past fall, and for the first time since I left it. Wow. And nobody really wants to talk about why, and I don't want to talk about why right now. I just am glad that they brought me back, and I was able to visit with some of the administrative team, and none of the people that I was there with are there, but a lot of the former players of my high school showed up when they retired my high school jersey, and I was very proud of that because it doesn't happen every day, and it was better late than never. But again, going back to that area, the obvious influence, and Billy knows, and as Sween, also, number one came from my own family. My mother was one who saw purpose in my life. I never saw it. I was quiet, sort of reserved, questioning myself at times, wonder if I was even in a position where I was worthy of living. But that was during the early, high school days. And when I landed at Syracuse, the obvious is George O'Leary. He's the father I never had. I mean, I had a father growing up, but Billy knows my father wasn't a nice guy. I mean, I love my dad, and we made amends before he passed away. But man, he was tough. He left scars on me to this day that took a lot of nurturing, believe it or not, a guy like O'Leary. And it wasn't coming from O'Leary. It wasn't, oh, you poor kid. It was, get the hell over it. We're here to move on. You have to decide what you want to be. And he taught me the word loyalty. And he taught me that, hey, I'm not going to turn my back on you as you don't do what you're supposed to do. What I see in you is greatness. And he told me these things. And he was a huge part of my, my life to this day. He lives 10 minutes from me. And sometimes I think about him, so I start to twitch.
I talked to him the other day.
Effect on human beings, right, Billy?
Oh my gosh.
We got O'Leary stories for you. You want to hear some?
We're gonna hear some O'Leary stories, and they're coming next. Because he was a huge influence on me. My father, as you guys know, Sweeney and Bill, my dad was my hero. O'Leary pointed me in the right direction of discipline, and then Coach Bryant was really taught me how to be a man. So those three influences in my life.
The one thing I want to make sure is clear to the listeners. I mean, when we say O'Leary, this is not BS. I know these other two. I know this one, Billy, really, really well, and they know me. And O'Leary transformed me as a young man to a believer in what was seemingly impossible to the rest of the world, including myself. And again, I just want to make sure the listeners understand that. This is a show about somewhat role models and leadership, but we all said about the same person. I really believe he deserves being honored because to this day, if I meet someone, how are you, Billy? He's there for me, man. Sweeney.
Oh, me too. Me too. To this day, I talked to him the other day, a couple days ago. He's still there for us. He's still there for me. It's amazing. I'll tell you one story. I'm going to start out with the story, and then we got a lot of crazy stories about him. But I'm going to tell you one that I remember the most. You guys all know how tough he was. Okay, I mean, he was. I tell more stories about him than I do Coach Bryant. That's how tough he was. But I do remember before our championship game, he stood every one of us up, all the starters up, and he went through exactly how good you are and why we were going to win this game. Now, I don't remember all the torture and all the pain. My memory is not so good anymore anyway. But I do remember what he said about me that day before that game. And I wanted to ask you, Chuck and Bill, do you remember that day and when he stood us up in that practice and went over everybody and said why you were so good?
Well, I can tell you this, Paulie. I had him probably the longest anybody has.
7 years, longer than anybody on the planet, Bill.
7 years, and I a lot of it is a blur in my mind. I've got probably 30 to 40 stories. We all do. And exactly what he said at different times. I mean, I couldn't tell you for sure. Probably Sweeney remembers more. But
Sweeney does.
most of my, I mean, the biggest part, and Blaise will tell you this, we had him, I mean, to the late, the stuff the guy did mentally was, crazy. You talk about the four of us on the four-wheel drive. You talk about Blaise, me, Jamie Kimmel, Timmy Green, and I looked at
talk about that ride. You thought you were going to doing the outing or something.
Yeah, I'll get to that. But the biggest thing, George, he had that I think was the mental power he had over each one of us. And I think he could fuck with Blaise the most, I think. I was probably second. Timmy was third. and Jamie just didn't give a fuck. So he couldn't get through to Jamie. So, but I'm going to tell you this, and Blaise, I know you remember it. I mean, and the guy would look at you, and we were seniors at the time, and we all of us were going on to play at the next level. We're seniors at Syracuse, and he's still threatening us to put us on the offensive fucking line.
Yeah.
Hey, take it easy, would you? What's that supposed to mean?
We're gonna go over by Sweeney, Bob.
Blaise, am I right?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's just when you thought we were in the driver's seat, he was on us. He never let us become too comfortable in our own skin. He was always reminding us that it can all be lost, boys. And, it's like when we came out of the program before we would play against a Boston College and Doug Flutie. And we were pictured on the program. That was Billy's idea of sitting in a truck, or it ended up being a Jeep. And the bottom line is, O'Leary looked at the four of us. He asked the guy in the back of the room, shut the door. And he said, he held this up and he said, what is this? You realize what you've done.
Now, hold on a minute. Now, you remember the picture I took with my red truck?
Oh, yeah, I have.
Now, you're not, Paulie, this is a great one. We're getting ready to take a picture for Sports Illustrated with my red truck.
Remember that truck, Paul?
Huh?
You remember that truck he had in high school, that big red Ford?
He grabs a hold of me. We're seniors now. We're seniors. He grabs a hold of me. He goes, listen, I don't like this bullshit. Taking pictures, this fucking shit, this showing off shit. He goes, I want you guys to, if you're going to take a picture, you better have your helmets on. The guy that wanted to do the picture wanted us to be in shorts and tank tops for the picture.
You're right.
We go to take the picture, and we got our helmets on. The guy goes, how can I take a picture of you guys with your helmets on?
He was all over us for that, man. He hated that whole thing.
Oh yeah. He doesn't like any showboating, any bragging.
But we told him,
yeah,
Coach, we'll hold up our end of the bargain, man. You know we will. And he would look at you like with that bent finger. he would look at you with that thing, just below his eyeline, and well, you better. And we like, Coach, we're all right, man.
Schwing, I got one for Schwing. Schwing.
Yes.
You remember we were seniors. Now, Blaise, you don't remember. I don't know if you remember this. We're seniors, and the Liverpool Rotary Club had a dinner. So It was right after the season. They wanted me, Chuck, and Timmy to go speak at the Rotary Club. Now, we were done playing. We were seniors. I said, I hope he don't see this, but I go, F him. I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm waiting for the fucking draft to come along. I don't have to fucking do nothing. So I'm ducking him for almost 2 weeks. He's sending messages down. I'm walking across the parking lot one day. I hear the rumbling of the stones. I turn around. He's got that wagon, right? He's coming up behind me, driving with that wagon. I go, this is it. It's been 7 years. We're gonna go fucking head to head here. This is finally this is finally it. He had a hold of my shirt. He goes, jumps out of the fucking wagon, grabs my shirt, and goes, "You motherfucker." He goes, "You left us standing at that thing." He goes, "You be in my fucking office tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock.
Man.
We're gonna fucking settle it."
I knew nothing about this story.
Yeah, this was 7 years. I walk in the morning, all lights are off back. You know where you used to be back in that little office back
that little corner.
The little corner. I'm walking down the hall. There's no lights on. I go, he's gonna fucking jat me. I go, I know he's gonna fucking come out of one of those rooms and jat me. I come into the room. He's sitting there watching film. 5 o'clock in the morning. He's watching film. Throws me his car keys. Goes, go down and get me a pouch of Red Man. I come back. We end up shooting shit.
Yeah.
for almost 3 hours. We're sitting there
Yeah.
shooting shit, you know.
Yeah, that's him. That's him. All right,
But
Bill,
great.
tell the story about you guys as freshmen. I think he was supposed to take you on an outing, but it turned into something a little different than you guys thought.
You guys remember the they put up a sign-up sheet to go to the fair?
Oh, that was an upperclassman trick every year.
I don't remember that.
You
But
don't
now-
remember, Blaise?
No, I don't remember
No.
that.
They used to
Now,
hang,
Blaise-
they used to hang it in the locker room right after doubles.
Now,
No,
yeah,
I was always I don't know, wrapped in knots. Yeah, to always unwrap me in knots.
Sweeney,
You got
me
too
and
many
Jay-
concussions like me, Blaise, man. You spent 10, 12 years in the NFL, dude.
I was so uptight, and Billy knew it. He was the one that would make me laugh in the middle of a ball game, and would talking about you know what, and
George,
I was forever damaged because he ended up being my roommate. And when we saw Halloween for the first time, and he had a crush on that girl on the TV, that girl, whatever her name is, when I saw him do to that TV set, I thought I'm lost my mind, man.
I don't remember.
But he always I always saw the 4-wheel drive as we had the humorist, we had the intellectual dude and Tim. We had this pure athlete with a mean streak with Jamie. And we had this guy who kept walking back and forth. I could do this, right? I could do this, right? And it was just a perfect storm of personalities coached by a guy named O'Leary that was having so much fun doing what he did to us, which is I'm going to poke his button a little bit. I'm going to poke his button a little bit. And he created a nasty Sweeney, am I right? The nastiest group of people up front that just has so much joy in we're going to prove to you we're the best. And
you guys were good. You guys were really good, man. That D line.
We had to block these guys every day in one-on-ones. You understand?
Yep, it gets you better. Get you better.
Let me just take you through this.
We got Marone to quit twice. Yeah.
You got this guy in the show with you. Spent 12 years in the NFL. You got Billy Bench Press here, right? You had Jamie Kimmel, who was my roommate. Jamie was my roommate.
Psycho.
Okay?
Psycho. Yeah.
You had Tim Green. Before them, we had Mike Charles, played in the NFL.
Yeah.
We had Craig Bingham, was an outside linebacker, played in the NFL. You want to know why I got CTE? These guys beat my head in every day.
Yeah, it was tough.
I was O'Leary loved those one-on-ones.
I was talking to Jimmy Fury.
He did. He loved it.
A lot of time, Fury made us grow up too real fast too. Yeah, some of those guys made us harder because they were tough.
Yeah.
Well, shit, you guys remember we did inside run 2 days a week for an hour and a half.
Oh,
I mean, it was all, and he had the truck come right over the top of your head and film it. And I don't know what was worse, doing the hour and a half of that or going through film with him.
Oh, man, you're right. I remember that now.
And Blaise was wound so fucking tight.
Well, I was.
George had his asshole puckered right up like he was. I mean, it was just, and I used to tell him, what the fuck, what are you letting them get to you for?
This dude right here, I mean, again, I know he doesn't need to hear this. This dude here with O'Leary, Tim, and Jamie, and the guys that would beat me up on the other side of the line were the reasons why, man, I tasted in the NFL for 11 years. Right. Everybody needs to know, man, this is a team sport. Even though we watch the NFL and we say, oh, Aaron Donald's nobody without those other three around him. And we always believed in that because O'Leary taught us and we taught each other that, man, we can't get to where we want to be without our brothers. And I don't care if he was the strongest, nastiest dude. He also had a sense of humor that Mr. Wind-Up Nut, I needed to learn to laugh.
Right.
Because there was no laughter in a lot of my early life. And Billy helped me really, hey, man, learn to laugh at myself and with other people.
Yeah, that you know what that reminds me. I had my first roommate at Alabama on my show last week, Preston Gothard, and I was like you. I was wound up tight, issues galore. Right, that's why I knew I needed to get away from Syracuse. But man, I was wound up tight. I got to the first practice. Now you gotta remember, Blaise, I got to Bama after back-to-back national titles, so they were the best of the best.
Yeah,
I went to practice. And I went, holy shit, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I had some hard times, didn't get along with my DB coach, but my first roommate, Preston Gothard, got me to laugh because he's the funniest human being I've ever known.
It's
you gotta watch the show, Preston Gothard did. He was my Billy. And that's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about teammates, really good teammates that are fuelers and not drainers, somebody that gives you energy and doesn't suck the air out of the room. I can think of, you guys, Mark Berryhill, being me playing offense and defense. On defense, we dominated. We only gave up 33 points our senior year, Billy and Chuck. You guys know that. But we had like 7 shutouts in 10 games. And Mark Berryhill was a great teammate of mine. At Bama, Mike White was probably my teammate that I could count on at Bama all the time. But let's talk about these the fuelers, the leaders, not the drainers or the narcissists and egoists. They don't have a place in any team, really, not on my team. But talk about some great teammates that you had in the NFL, because you played with some great ones, Blaise. You played with
playing with the guys around me like Junior Seau and playing with guys around me like Leslie O'Neal or the defensive line for the Chargers. I mean, 51 of 54 sacks in 1992 came from us. 51 of 54 sacks came from 4 dudes. 4 dudes. I mean, that year, and obviously you have the focal point, which is Junior Seau, but you had the Bert Grossman. Remember Bert, Billy? Remember Grossman? Sweeney from Pitt. He had him in his I don't know if he showered for the 3 years I was there. I don't know if he showered. We always wondered, are you ever going to shower? And he would just leave right after a game, right? Dirty. What's wrong with you, man? And Leslie O'Neal from Arkansas. I mean 10 sacks a year for 10 straight years.
Yeah.
He was a moron. But just like the 4-wheel drive, you learn to put some of the differences aside. Since the beauty of O'Leary is, Jay, you're on the one side. Tim, you're on the other. Billy, you keep everybody together in the middle. Blaise, you roam around left and right in that 3 technique. And what? You do what you do, and we'll be all right. But we're going to keep Billy Jamie on one side, Tim Green on the other. We're going to have Billy and Blaise do it. And this chemistry stuff was a part of not only the 4-wheel drive, but at San Diego, why we were number 1 against the rush and number 3 in total defense. That's and then 2 years later, go to a Super Bowl with them.
Yeah, teamwork, so you can count on guys that have accountability that you trust and love.
Here's the punch. Who was the D-line coach at the Chargers in 1992, Billy?
George O'Leary.
Thank you very much, Sweeney. Isn't that amazing? That is amazing. And most people are like, well, wow, that was a great coach. I said, it's the same coach I had at college.
Yeah.
What do you think? I ended up there and had a chance to play. And long story short, man, I'm forever grateful. And then I went to work for him, Billy.
Yeah, tell us about that, Blaise.
Dude.
Tell us about that year.
You coached for him in 2012 down at UCF.
Yeah.
Tell him about
forever
what was it like to
he
coach
lives
with him?
10 minutes down the road, and I'm ready with my shotgun if he shows up.
Blaise, tell him about you told him you were going to knock him.
This is what Billy is talking about George. He knows what he's doing at every minute. He knows what everybody is. He knows what everyone's doing. I mean, this man was there at 4 a.m., 4:30 in the morning, and not leave till 9. He knew everything at UCF. he knew, and I was a new rabbit. You know what I mean? I was just a dude, and the first thing he said to me was, walk me by with somebody else. And I was in my office. He walked by me the room with somebody else and said to that other person, oh, he's our new D-line coach. And in another year, he'll lose all his hair. And I'm like, what? 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 And he looked at me and gave me a little wink. And that was, you're right, Billy? That was part of just this constant playing head games, but knowing exactly what you were doing with that individual. And in this case, I was coached with him. And I'm forever, grateful, but it was so incredibly nerve-wracking to be around someone that, is he pulling on you? Is he having fun with you? And eventually what I said to him was, Billy, Sweeney, you know this story. If you come near me in my drill one more time, I'm going to break your fucking neck. And he would smile at me. And then he would say, come into my meeting room. And he did this during games. You shut your fucking mouth on the microphone, on the whatever, the headpiece. Yeah. And all right, I'm just trying to. No, you shut your mouth while I'm talking. And he was just like, brought me right back to those roots of being a freshman. And not that I was talking a lot, but I was much more self-assured. And he would never hire a coach that wasn't self-assured. But he would, play games, and he probably was laughing the whole way.
There's Coach. Yeah. There's Coach O'Leary up there.
Yeah.
Right up at the top. There's Coach Jack Jones, Irv Cross, and Andy Panafino, our coaches. I had to give a shout out to our coaches.
Yeah.
Liverpool High School. That was an amazing team. That was an amazing team. The high school coach recently called me up, Joe Santino, and said, hey, we'd like some information on the earlier years at Liverpool High School. These are our teammates here, all the boys. See all the boys there at Liverpool.
Yeah, there they are.
I had to give a shout out to them. Billy, here you go.
Nice.
See that?
There you go.
Awesome.
What's amazing to me is to look at Billy, Sweeney, Tim.
There they are.
These guys that came from Liverpool, and I'm like, you had him in high school too?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, man, we had him in high school.
Brutal.
Oh my Lord!
I got to Alabama. It wasn't so bad. Coach Bryant was mellowed out a little bit, and it wasn't as bad as O'Leary. He would test you to. What did he do? I think you guys dressed up in shorts and t-shirts, and he watered down the field on a cold day. Made you guys do bear crawls up and down.
He'd have us go out there and do some threshold work. Work on that pain threshold.
All right, so tell about this joke about going to the fair or whatever for you freshmen.
Oh yeah.
Oh, so Sweeney got the memo. I guess I missed the memo. Me and Jamie missed the memo, and Sweeney, you didn't fall for it, huh?
No, I had a few upperclassmen friends at the time.
Yeah, Sweeney was pretty tight with the upper class offensive line.
Well, that's how I got my scholarship. I was a tour director.
Hey, Blaise, I asked Blaise about it. Blaise said, no way. He stayed right. Blaise would just stay away from everything. At first, our freshman year, me and Jamie were, we looked at the thing. Geez, we're going to go to the fair. Oh, this is a good, fuck, what the hell? We're standing out there. The bus pulls up. I think probably 6, maybe 8 of us fell for it. We get on the bus. We're sitting there. I'm sitting on the bus, and I'm thinking, okay, well, this don't seem like it's going to happen, but maybe it is. Instead of the bus going straight out to the main road, it makes a right to go around the front of Manley Fieldhouse. And I all of a sudden I look at Jamie, and I'm going, I got a bad feeling about this. And Jamie's going, don't worry about it. Next thing you know, it pulls up front. Bus stops, the door opens, and here he comes. George gets on the bus, right? Jamie, being the fucking fruit, the nut that he is, he goes, "Oh, coach is going to the fair with us." I go, I go, I don't think that's good. I don't think that's what's happening here. Now we're dressed in our clothes to go. The bus pulls a U-turn, goes right down through the parking lot onto Collindale. You guys remember the grass field?
Yeah.
We get out of the bus. He goes, "Get on the line," and starts running us. You guys don't remember that?
No, I'm glad I stayed away.
But,
I don't remember that.
I remember me and Kimmel getting off the bus, and he's got that, George has got that smirk on his face, and he goes, "You actually think we were going to go to the fucking fair? Get your asses out. We're going to run."
Did you guys run?
Wow.
All right. So I like the story, Bill, about your freshman year. Now, I wasn't ready to play at Alabama my sophomore year, let alone my freshman year. It took me over 200 practices and over 500 workouts before I dressed for my first game. But it wasn't like that for you, Billy. You were put in the first game of the year against Nebraska and
Ohio State.
Ohio State. I thought it was Dave Remington who ran you over.
Well, no, Ohio State. They were number one in the country. Blaise remembers we were playing them down there in Ohio.
We were on the field, weren't we, Billy? We were on that field.
Was that the game O'Leary come down from the booth because he didn't like being up in the booth?
No, that was late. That was later in the year when Mac. That was 2 years later when Coach O. I'm not going to speak for him, but I don't think he really got along with Mac all that much. And
That's
Mac.
obvious. Yeah, it wasn't.
Now, Coach O'Leary is a guy that should be on the football field. He shouldn't be up in the press box.
Right.
And Mac put him up in the press box. Blaise, I don't know if you remember this. When the second half of one of the games, he came down out of the press box. And I remember sitting next to Jamie, and I seen him coming through the tunnel, and I'm thinking to myself, because it was the only break we had because he was up in the press box during the game.
Yeah.
You remember Blaise?
Yes.
He was in the press box, so it was like a vacation down on the field because you didn't get your balls busted till film day. Here he comes through the tunnel. I go to Kimmel. I go, this is not going to be good. He got his fingers in our face, right in your face. He told Mac, something along the lines of "Don't fucking tell me what to do" or whatever, And
oh my gosh,
who was communicating with you guys on the sideline? Clarence Brooks.
Yeah.
Yeah, Clarence, good guy.
Yeah.
Great. Clarence was good people.
Norm Gerber was and Fitzgerald.
Gary Blackney, wasn't he there?
Gary Blackney, yeah, he was a defensive backs coach.
Blackney was up in the press box with Coach O'Leary.
And the nut job coach I had, Canaster.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah.
Offensive line coach.
Yeah. Oh, listen,
I didn't get along with my DB coach at Alabama.
He was about 2 sandwiches short of a picnic.
Yeah. Paulie, getting back to what you were talking about as far as unity. I got to say this. All four of us we all come from New York State. But we all come from a kind of a different background, and and me and Blaise were tight during college. I was kind of semi-tight with Jamie. Timmy was kind of off on his own, and it wasn't that we hung out together after the games and went out, but we gelled on the field, and that was something that a lot of people looking from the outside in would think these four guys must hang out together all the time. They must do everything together. And that kind of wasn't the case, but we put things aside and we played together. And as to Blaise's point, without the other three guys, one guy cannot flourish in that system, so you got 5, sometimes 6 offensive linemen. Somebody's going to get doubled. 2 guys are going to get doubled, maybe 3, and that's what kind of, a good D line and somebody that understands defensive line work understands that because there's one guy making all the tackles or he's single blocked it. That's a difference in the way he coached it.
He brought that knowledge and he shared it with us in such a way that we bought into it. We wanted to be the best. There was a desire. Tim and Billy had a certain status coming in. Jamie had a certain clout. I had my own little way, my own personal pride, and he knew how to sort of weave it together. And he took that D line and he did that at San Diego, the Chargers again. He did it at Georgia Tech. He did it at UCF. He did it everywhere, from a small, a partnership with a defensive tackle and a nose guard, all the way up to a roster of 100 people. He was able to carry the thought of there is no name on the jersey for a reason. Yeah. And we're going to stay true to that. Now, in today's case, I'm sure he would say, because he has whispered in my ear, and this is not, I can't coach in today's ball. And it takes a lot of compromise. And George O'Leary is not about compromising for anything other than W's. And he poured that into us, that winning didn't matter. And you got to, and we Billy and Tim, Sweeney, you win. And TZ High School, we won we were above 500 for the first time my senior year. So you have to learn how. And when you're around Billy, Tim, Jamie, O'Leary, you learn how. Yep. And it feels good. And you want to buy in. And then there's times that the man pulls back. We would high five over a quarterback's body as a group. Doug Flutie, there's a picture of us over high-fiving over Doug Flutie. And I remember we had to run off a different part of the field so we didn't have to face George O'Leary, because he would look at us with, what are you doing?
That's your job.
Man. You're drawing attention. Don't do that.
Right.
And we would do it anyway because we had cut to a point our senior year that we had a right to say, man, you can't stop us. The same thing with Oliver Luck at West Virginia. You're going to be hurt today, man. You're going to be hurt. And I would look at Billy, and I would be laughing together with, hey, man, this is a lot of fun. And George was sending us in the right position, in the right way. And he knew, well, I want to play GN. No, man, you're here. Billy, you're there. And it was really coming to trust an individual. And he has proven it everywhere he's been.
Oh yeah.
And
he would have won. He would have won national titles at Notre Dame, no doubt. No doubt about it, right? He would have won big time at Notre Dame. Yeah.
Now, Blaise, you remember when we used to ride on the bus? They had an offensive bus and a defensive bus. The four of us. You remember the four of us used to ride in the front with our hats on. Yeah. You remember that?
Yeah, I sure do, man. That was a great time, man. When I think that was also part of your idea, just like the everybody in the truck. I think that was part of your crazy idea. And,
he always impressed upon us that the defensive line are got to be the leaders of the team. So we'd sit in the front of the bus, the four seats in front. Where our, the double seats, we each had one seat, and that was how we went.
4D linemen were the leaders of the team. The 4D linemen.
Yeah, that was how it was.
That's how you build a team from the inside out. Offensive linemen, defensive linemen, and then you go out to the skill position.
With what you just said, doesn't that piss you off? I'm hearing nothing about great O-lines and D-lines that are playing it in the NFL playoffs. And all you hear about is the fringe. All the people on the edges run by the little fairy in the back. I'm just appalled by the fact that, it's still won in the trenches.
Right.
I mean, you
Right.
run the ball is because you have a great O-line. You pass protect, you have a great O-line. You get to the quarterback, you have a great O-line.
Great defense,
D-line. You know what I
right?
mean?
The D line always works with the DBs. You get pressure, it equals sacks. You get coverage, that equals sacks. I mean, they
Right.
work hand in hand, and that's what a standard. He sets a standard, and that's what great coaches do. That's what my coach did at high school, Coach O'Leary. That's what Coach Bryant did at Alabama. That's what Coach Nick Saban.
That's what Coach Brown has to do at Syracuse now. He has to build it from the inside out. He has to build it with the word that starts with a T, toughness. He has to have mean motherfuckers from New York State, because there's a few there, not many, but a few. They found us, and there are people that want to play. He needs people that want to play at Syracuse University, not leave after 5 months.
Well, Blaise, he's the #1 recruiter in the country last year for Georgia. He learns from he learned from Kirby, who learned from Nick, how to run a program. So, we'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
Also, and the other thing, he's the type that #1 already has been reaching out to a lot of us alumni. And that's #1. He's followed up with me a number of times. And I told him what I wanted. I wanted somebody to honor the 4-wheel drive. I wanted a sign or a poster somewhere. Put it in the men's room. He laughed. And I said, I don't care where it is. We should have something that recognizes the fact that 4 guys from New York played at a state university with a New York football coach in George O'Leary. I mean, that's a no-brainer, right, Billy? Sweeney?
Yeah,
that's a no-brainer.
Absolutely. Yeah, I complain even at Alabama about sometimes how they treat the ex-players. I'm over 60 years old and I'm up in the upper deck end zone just because I don't have, a lot of cash to throw at them. I mean, there's always, Billy and I talk about it all the time, how Syracuse mistreated their ex-players, and it should change. It's about to change, and it's a good thing that you get them involved, because that's where the support money, and now it's even needed more than NIL.
Yeah.
So
true.
I stopped up yesterday, as a matter of fact, Blaise, and I went up. I dropped my card off to the secretary up at Coach Brown's office.
Oh, good.
And I took a walk through the facility, and it's
there you are.
It's a nice facility, and I left a card with her, and we'll see if he gets back to me.
Oh, good. I hope he does, man. I hope you guys all the best luck, Syracuse. Hey.
I want to hear.
Where legends are made, not me. I was just an ordinary player, but hey,
I want to hear a story from Sweeney. An O'Leary story.
Tell an O'Leary story. Come on.
High school or college?
Whatever one you want, buddy.
A nice juicy one, man. Maybe a little X-rated.
You and Billy played for him for 7 years.
Give me a juicy one.
Well, the very best one is the one I told the last time on the show. I can retell it.
Yeah, sure.
We're seniors at Liverpool High School. We're in game #1. We're playing Cicero at the time. And I think the score at halftime was 3-2. And we got into the locker room at halftime, and we had our helmets off, which should have been a good lesson as to why we always should leave our helmets on. And he looks at me, and I was, kind of frowning. And he hits me with a right hook. Yeah, I never see a right hook. And says, and get that goddamn Moby Dick look off your face. What do you think? We're playing a baseball game?
What kind of look do you have on your face?
Moby Dick look.
Moby Dick look.
Moby Dick look. Yeah, not acceptable. He's not compromising any Moby Dick look in his locker room. Let me tell you.
So then we go on to Syracuse, and I get to Syracuse, and like you, Paul, I didn't particularly care for my offensive line coach the second and third year. So I went into George's office one morning, and I said, Coach, you've known me since I was a sophomore in high school. And any shot I could convert to the defensive line. He looks at me up and down. He goes, with those goddamn feet, I don't think so.
Oh, you got him down good, man. You really have him down.
Sween.
Oh, that's great. Oh,
Sween.
man.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but Sween, Blaise, boy, he had Blaise's number, man. I'm gonna tell you.
He
I
wound
gotta
him up
say-
every day.
Huh?
He wound Blaise up. I mean, this
Oh, well,
he was going. Blaise would go 150 miles an hour every
Blaise.
practice. Like I had been out at Sutter's on a Wednesday night till 2-3 in the morning. You know, to go to practice. I got to go one-on-one with this guy. This guy's coming across the line like a Corvette. I'm saying, Blaise, take it easy, would you? Never slowed down.
So Blaise was the wild man, right? He
And
was
you-
the one
and you know
going
what the
all
lesson
out,
is,
all
Blaise.
every practice, going 100% every single. Like
And that's
even
why
like,
he
he
played
got
in the
wrap up.
NFL
He's
for
taking
12
guys
years.
on the ground, right? He's that type.
Paulie, I go over to Blaise's apartment and say, "Come on, it's get about 9-10 o'clock. Let's go out. Let's go out and have a few."
right. No,
Blaise say, "No way, man. I got George will be on my ass."
yeah, it's true, man. It's funny, like you said earlier, we come together with all this different stuff. Billy came from, Lou, and his family was, raised a certain way, and I love her and miss her so much, Billy, your mama. I love her and miss her so much. She's amazing, a lady, loving lady. And anyway, you see where Jamie comes from. You see, the wrestling background in Jamie, Tim, the intellectual part of him. And you sort of take bits and pieces away, and you say, what do I add? And what I added was what everybody else saw, which was, I'm going to be relentless because I'm feeling the pressure of my life. And the pressure of my life was, you're going to amount to nothing. Right. And that can really, really motivate someone if they interpret it that way. Right. There's a lot of violins. Poor me. And man, O'Leary was not one would put up with that. Right. So there was no slipping into any sort of form of conformity and complacency. It was always winning. And nowadays, I even later in his career at UCF, I saw the mutiny. I saw that you don't understand what the man was. And I'm not saying I was a great coach ready to coach with him. I wasn't. And that's cool. That's cool. But at least I was around greatness. And I knew what he demanded. And most people could not hold up in the media room as well as on the field. And I even had 4 guys at UCF in 2012 that were just, again, he built it there. And everyone warned me, he's going to look at you the most because D-line is his bread and butter. It's his go-to. And he really believed that. And everywhere he went, if we were 1 yard in a meeting behind first place in defense, I felt sorry for Jim Fleming, who's at Rhode Island right now. I mean, it was tough, but we brought everything together. The offensive guys, Sweeney, McCullum, Jerry, so many guys. I mean,
different backgrounds coming together. I mean, that I learned that lesson obviously at Alabama. Every time I opened my mouth, somebody would make a joke, make fun of me. So, because I came from I thought I was on a different planet. I didn't know where Alabama was on the map, but I know these people did not grow up like I did. So, blending that together it's a beautiful thing. We have more time. Hey, we're going to have to do this again. It was a blast to do this, man.
Hey, one last thing is selfishness does not exist on a football field if you want to be a winner. There is no room for it. And the teams that are left now are hopefully they demonstrate that at every level. And, man, I've had a lot of fun.
Awesome. It was great seeing you, Swing Bomb. Love you, man. Billy, I love you. Blaise, man, you're like a brother from another mother through these guys. Yeah, I know, right? Hey, thanks, guys. Appreciate all of you guys. Thank you so much.
Hey, let's do this again.
Yeah, let's do it again soon. Thanks.
Absolutely.
Man, what a day, man. We got to what a joy, all four of those guys. I want to thank everybody for watching the show. We got these important messages from my great sponsors. For without them, this just wouldn't be possible. Have a great sports Saturday, everybody. Talk to you soon. So long.
There's a reason why Hill Kelly in Pensacola is the #1 selling Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram dealer between Jacksonville and New Orleans. While other dealers have taken advantage of a competitive market with higher prices, Hill Kelly has discounted prices to the lowest of the year. And Hill Kelly in Pensacola won't surprise you with excessive charges beyond the selling price. Come see why people from Milton, Pace, Foley, Bay Minette, Daphne, Gulf Shores, Mobile, and beyond are driving to Hill Kelly in Pensacola to buy their next new Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, or Ram. At Hill Kelly, the bottom line price and your satisfaction are what really matter. So before you sign, check the bottom line and make the trip to Hill Kelly in Pensacola to see what true local ownership can do for you. At Hill Kelly Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Highway 29 in Car City, Pensacola. Or shop online 24/7 at hillkellydodge.com. When it comes to bottom line pricing, nobody beats a Hill Kelly deal. Nobody.
Bill, some game, huh?
I haven't really noticed, Paul.
What? The biggest game of the year?
I've been looking over my insurance. Talk about problems I'm trying to figure out.
Well, do what I did. Call the Seiler Agency. They showed me what I needed and what I didn't. They even saved me money. Now, instead of worrying about my insurance, I can worry about the big game.
Contact the Seiler Agency at 476-7443 for all of your insurance needs. Your independent agent for home, auto, boat, RV, commercial, general liability, life, and sound investment strategies. Call 476-7443 today.
So hard to get you in the perfect car. Looking for a better car buying experience? With the Step 1 Advantage from Buick GMC, Fort Walton Beach, and Pensacola, receive no-hassle market-based pricing or incentives by pre-ordering. Looking to sell or trade? Our dedicated team will even come to you. Plus, every vehicle sold at Step 1 supports local charities right in your neighborhood. Experience the Step 1 Advantage at Buick GMC, Fort Walton Beach, and Pensacola today.
75 years of service and high tech today. It's Pensacola Glass Company at 433-8348. High tech is a term often applied to advanced services and products in today's marketplace. And today, glass is much more than a simple pane of brittle, see-through stuff we hit baseballs through when we were kids. Glass is now a product with unique flexibility in both performance and application. And Pensacola Glass Company is growing right along. That's Pensacola Glass Company at 433-8348.
Did you know there's a place where you can get good neighbor service and surprisingly great rates on your home and auto insurance? Yep, and that place is, ta-da, State Farm. Here's the deal. State Farm agent Will Rentschler is your go-to agent in Pensacola, Florida for the service you deserve at the price that you want. So stop shopping around. State Farm agent Will Rentschler has you covered. Call 850-433-4678 for your surprisingly great rates today. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Legal disclaimer, individual premiums will vary by customer. All applicants subject to State Farm underwriting requirements.
For over 30 years, you have seen the orange Beck signs all over the Gulf Coast listing a property for sale or lease. Beck Partners is your trusted advisor in commercial real estate, property management, commercial and personal insurance. Senior Vice President David Valletto has been with Beck Partners since 1989. Take advantage of his wealth of knowledge by calling him today at 982-7352. 982-7352. Extensive experience in all aspects of leasing, sales, management, and site selection will make sure your expectations are exceeded.